What's up guys, and welcome back to another video. Today we're going to be doing the big block swap on our 4S Bandit. We're going to be turning it 6S and putting an 8th scale motor on it. And we're going to be going from this Ghost 4300 to this Castle 2200 that's on my Creighton. So we got to take that out the Creighton real quick. So I don't know if it's going to fit without cutting the transmission. So I guess we'll take it off. Damn. Alright y'all, if you ever get some times where you can't get your gear off, don't force it because you're going to end up stripping it. Just put a little bit of heat on it. I could have used a little bit more heat, but as you could see, when you put that heat on it, it helps get it off. So now we got to get this pinion off. Okay, it came off easy. Next, we have to undo the motor screws. If we don't have to cut the transmission on this one, then it will actually be a very easy swap, but I'm thinking we're going to end up having to cut it even if it fits, because to put a big enough gear that you need. Oh well, I forgot that this one had a sensor wire, so we can actually just leave this sensor wire in and use this one again. So we got the motor unbolted. We're gonna go ahead and undo the motor screws. I mean the motor wires. What kind of shit was that? We're going from this motor to this motor. That's a big difference. Alright, so since we have the sensor wire, we're going to take that one off. And before we even put it on, let's see how it fits. Okay, so it don't fit. Alright, so like I was saying guys, or thinking, we're going to have to cut the transmission. So the way to do that is you got to get to the transmission first. So alright, so the way to cut your transmission is you just take a razor knife and you're going to want to cut right behind this screw. You want to cut that off. So we might have to take this off for that. Let's see if we can do it with it on. It's dangerous cutting that towards my hand. Y'all don't do that. Don't cut it towards your hand. Alright, so I was trying not to take that off, but that's really the only way to be able to do it without cutting toward our hand. We don't want to cut toward our hand. Alright, so now that this is fully detached, now we'll be able to actually cut it right. So again, you just want to cut right along this line where this screw hole is. You just got to keep working it through, guys, until you get through. It's not super hard to cut. I mean, it's not super easy, but it's not that hard to cut it through with the razor knife. Y'all hear the dog. Crystal just got home. Ace is excited. Alright, so see, it's just that easy. It's not that hard to get through it. And then if For the next part, you want to try to cut it even, like with this little spot right here. Bottom's actually way easier to cut. Bam. So then once you put your motor plate back on, you'll have 3 screws that hold it on, and then you can take the big block motor and it'll fit again. So now all you gotta do is put it back together. Alright guys, so we got it cut, and if you want, you can shave this little piece off to make it, just to make it look a little better. It's not doing anything anymore. You don't have to do that. I just wanted it to look a little better. You can start if you want by putting your motor plate back on. So like I said, you're gonna have some extra screws now because not all the motor plate screws is gonna go in. You're only gonna use 3 now. We got 1, 2. We'll go ahead and screw those down. Here we go. We got 1 screwed in. We're gonna go ahead and screw the second one. Put the 3rd one. So once you got those in, that's all you're going to use now. There's not no more motor plate screws. So next step is just putting everything back together. So you can, for us, we're going to start with these. Put those back on. Well, actually, we'll go ahead and get the transmission bolted down. So all you gotta do is set it back on here and line it up. It should only go one way. Once you get that lined up, go ahead and get your screws. Oh wait, forgot. If you got the wheelie bar, guys, you got to put the little ones in first. Now, your chassis could be set up different to not put them, like for them to not go this way. So if that's the case, do this part, you know, how your chassis requires. But for mine, we put these 2 little screws in first. 1. And 2. So now you got those 2 in. So all we got to do is we're going to clean that up a little bit. You can leave the wheelie bar rod hang for now and just go ahead and put your 4 transmission screws back in. We're going to go ahead and do the opposite corners of each other and just get them started. Alright, that one started. Now that one started. Now once you get 2 corners started, you can go ahead and screw this one down. That way you know everything's all good. And then you go ahead and put the other one in. After you get the first 2 down, it don't really matter. I did do that opposite because I'm talking and not paying attention, but I normally like to do it like this, like across from each other. But it doesn't really matter. Alright, so now you can see you got that back together. And the next thing you're going to want to put back together is your spur gear and stuff. So come over and get your little spring, the little nut, and of course your spur gear with your slipper eliminator. If you have the slipper clutch, You put it on the same way. You just got to make sure, oh, and we need our pin. You just got to make sure the little pads and both pieces of the little metal ring is in the right spot. But for the slipper eliminator, slide that little metal pin in, and then slide your slipper eliminator over it, which of course has your spur gear. That bearing came out. Actually, you know what? We're gonna add a little oil in the bearings while we're right here. Now, re-put it back on. Then take the little spring thing, slide that on. Get your nut started, and then you need your little Traxxas tool right here. You want this, you know, don't break anything and don't make it where you can't get it off, but you want this pretty tight. Alright, so that's back on. So next, we'll go ahead and mount up the motor. So all you got to do is see how you're going to put your motor. It'll definitely fit now. And it's what we're going to do, because we still got to figure out what size pinion gear we're going to start on. We're just going to get the holes lined up. Get the holes lined up and just get it started. That's all we're going to do. Alright, so we got that started. We're going to make sure our wires are going to reach, which it looks like they will. Yeah, so our wires are going to reach, so that's not a problem. Alright guys, so we decided that we're going to start with a 27 tooth pinion. I think that's a good place to start with this motor. If it's too small, we'll go up. If it's too big, we'll go down. There's only one way to find out. Oh. Now, that's the problem I was worried about. So, with the stock setup that comes on this, like the hole cutouts, 27 is actually the biggest you can go, and that's kind of tight. So, we're going to have to cut those out, but that's going to be in a different video. Plug in the motor. Now, if you're running censored, this is really going to matter. If you're not running censored, just plug it in, make sure the middle wires in the middle plug, and then if you hit forward and it's reversed, then swap A and C. But for us running censored, we have to make sure it's the right one. That's pretty much the whole big block swap. I mean, all you got to do left is hook up your wheelie bar again, and for me, hook this up, but that's about it. Now we can turn it on and double check, make sure that's all straight and not too tight, which I hope it ain't, because if it is, we can't loosen it. Let's make sure everything works. Now, she's definitely a little too tight, but that's just gonna have to be like that for now. But sounds good, everything works. Saws being a little tight, we can't do nothing until we trim that out more. But that's pretty much it, guys. All we got to do left is hook this back up, put the wing back on. That's pretty easy. So